All right. Good morning and welcome to today's Hangout. My name is Yao Puonu. I'm the alumni coordinator here at the U.S. Embassy, and I'm happy to moderate this session. Today we will be speaking about the Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders. The YALI program, as most of you know it. We'll talk about the application for 2015, which opened on the 4th of October, and which is scheduled to close on the 5th of November this year. You may join us with questions on Google Plus if you're watching on Google Plus, or you may join us on Facebook, facebook.com/US Embassy Ghana. You can also send us your questions on Twitter using the hashtag YALI2015, and at the end of this session, you may find the video also on youtube.com/US Embassy Ghana. Our guest on today's discussion is the new Public Affairs Officer for the U.S. Embassy here in Accra, Ghana. This is his first tour to Africa, and he is particularly excited to be here in Ghana. His name is Daniel Fennell. Now, allow Danny to introduce himself.
I want to say good morning to all the participants, especially to my colleagues who are virtually present with us. The YALI participants who have their own story to tell and their own specific expertise. I wanted to say thank you for the welcome that I've received, and I also want to call your attention to some of the resources we have here, where we have not only our binational relationship displayed through the flags, but also a jack-o'-lantern commemorating Halloween, I noticed above. So we welcome your participation. We want to answer any specific questions you may have regarding the Mandela Fellowship, as it's been called, YALI, for Young African Leadership Initiative. I have just arrived from Washington, D.C., where I had a chance to see how important this program is for very senior leadership in the U.S. government, including President Barack Obama. And we want to know if there's any specific questions that folks have, and welcome any discussion regarding the experience that my distinguished colleagues can share. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danny. So we are also joined by 3 of our 2014 Mandela Washington Fellowship Fellows who will share their experiences and perspective on the discussion today. I'll allow them to introduce themselves, and I think we can start from Araba.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. My name is Araba Hammond, and as Yao said, I'm a 2014 Washington. I heard of some YALI through Ashesi University, and I joined the cohorts that went to Wagner College on Staten Island in New York. I also stayed for an extension for the internship, that 8-week internship in Washington, D.C., where I worked with Peace Corps. I look forward to talking with everyone.
Thank you, Araba. Can we have you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, everyone. My name is JayJay Segbefia, and I was also with the cohort at Dartmouth College, where I spent 6 wonderful weeks learning business and entrepreneurship. And then I had the opportunity to do my internship, 2-month internship with the National Outdoor Leadership School. As you can see and probably tell from my uniform, I'm in the outdoor leadership sector. So I run expeditions across Africa, and I had the opportunity to intern with a world leader when it comes to outdoor education in the United States, and I hiked on some of the North American most popular mountain spots, and I'm happy to answer whatever questions current applicants would like answers for.
Thank you, JayJay. Laud?
Good morning, fellows. Good morning, YALI participants. Good morning, Africa. So my name is Laud Boateng. I'm a public health physician. I was part of the program, and I was in Morgan State in Baltimore. I later did an internship at Cincinnati Health Department. Just like all of us, we are excited to be of help to anybody who has any question. Feel free to ask anything. Thank you. Yao, over to you.
Thank you very much. So we are also expecting 2 more fellows to join us, Christina Okyere and Williams Kwarah. hopefully before this hangout ends, we will have them join us. But to kickstart the discussion, Danny, we want to know, what is the Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders?
As briefly, the history of this actually goes back to a specific interest and initiative by President Barack Obama, who visited here in Ghana. So in some ways, I think it's possible to say that part of the roots of the YALI Mandela Fellowship actually are found here in Accra and in Ghana, based partly on the initiatives that were recommended to our President Obama. There's an interest, and I think the President was very articulate when he was talking last month at the African Leadership Summit in Washington, that we want to think not only about initiatives today, but we want to think about the young leaders of tomorrow. This is an initiative with specific interest in the White House. There are fellows that will be chosen from around the region. It's a competitive program. We're expecting there to be 5,000 applications this year. It's an opportunity then for people to participate in not only a program in the United States, which is fairly brief, but then to have access to resources through the U.S. Embassy network, through the U.S. government, and through the partnership organizations, including universities in the United States, to have access to the network of fellows that you'll be participating in, to move forward with alumni programming and resources, and to make this a launch point not only for your interests but also for partnership across the ocean. We're very pleased with the interest so far, and I think in some ways we're at the very almost the birth of a new generation of participants in this very, very useful fellowship and useful exchange program. So we have high hopes for those. My colleagues who've spoken so far, I think, can speak to more of the specifics of their experience as we get further. But the program itself is in its dawn, but I think has a very promising future and has the direct support of the President.
Thank you very much, Danny. I just realized that Williams has joined us. And William, can you briefly introduce yourself, tell us your name, where you're joining from, and your track, please? William? All right. So in the absence of that, let's talk about the application. Danny, who can apply for this fellowship? Who qualifies to apply for this fellowship?
So my colleagues may correct me, but the application is open to citizens in the context of Ghana, all citizens and residents in Ghana. You have to have a commitment to returning and working here in your own country. In fact, there's certain visa requirements that suggest that you can apply to be a resident or to immigrate to the United States for a period of 2 years following the fellowship, mostly because we see it as an investment of bringing back this experience and continuing on here. There is an age difference of between 25 and 35 years of age at the time of the application, although in certain instances people some years earlier than that can apply if they think that they have an outstanding, significant educational or professional background that preceded their that they were able to achieve prior to turning 25 years old. But generally, we're looking at 25 to 35 years old, which we consider at the beginning of the important part of the professional arc. There is no limitation for the specific educational or professional background you have, but we look at 3 specific areas. One of them is the civil service element, which is sort of civil service would be governmental sector. There is the entrepreneurial element, which is sort of the business sector. And then there is the NGO or non-governmental sector, those who are working in organizations that are not for profit. And we think that captures in some ways the 3 pillars that hold up partnership for growth, both in Ghana but throughout the region.
Thank you very much. So now I will come over to you, the fellows. I want to know what your application experience was. Araba, can you tell us how you heard about the YALI initiative?
Okay, briefly, I got an email from my alma mater, Ashesi University. It's periodic emails that alumni receive, and the subject of the email was, "Do you want to meet President Obama?" And at the time, I actually thought he was probably coming to Ghana and will pass by Ashesi University or something. So that's what prompted me to look at the email, and then after looking at it, I realized it was about this fellowship, and I felt that I would benefit from applying for the fellowship, and so that's what happened.
So, Laud, what is the best way of scrutinizing your essay responses before submission, or how did you go about applying? How did you find the application process?
So thank you. You first have to read the questions and get to know the requirements and make sure that you meet them, because there are specific requirements as was outlined. Then I took some time to write my essays. Then I showed them to a few colleagues, my peers and my seniors, to edit it for me. There's a trick about the application. You do need some references from people who you've worked with before. And I know that some people would want to turn in their applications a bit late. You'd have to make sure that your reference is coming on time so that you don't fail the application date. So try and make sure that if you intend on applying, even as you write your essays, inform all those who will be writing references for you to start putting it together. Don't wait until the last day. So these are, for me, proofreading the essays and making sure that my those writing my recommendations did so on time was very key and vital. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So JayJay, with respect to the same application process, what was unique for you in the whole process?
I think for me the unique factor was having to go over it over and over again to ensure that all my I's were dotted and all my T's were crossed, because I somehow had the assumption that President Barack Obama himself was going to be reading my application, and I didn't want him to think that I was not very, very good at writing applications. And there was a lot of essays to write. The most interesting component for me was applying for the internship, which was another application, and if my memory serves me right, it appeared to be even longer than the actual application, because now I had to go inside myself and find out what I was going to do with the skills I was going to learn from an internship. And that was very, very interesting. It took me a total 1 week to write the application, because I kept shuttling between the jungle and Accra to finish up every time. But it was an experience that was worth it, and if I had to do it all over again, I would.
Okay. So Danny, back to and this is basically respect to the selection process. How does the number of words used in answering the question affect an applicant's chances of being selected? Does it really is it entirely based on just the number of words, or how does that
I guess I think there's an expression here, the same as in the United States, that we're interested more in quality than in quantity. It's not a matter of exhausting the selection criteria is based on the quality of the individual's plans, the content of what they've had a chance to do, and in some cases the force of idea and creativity. And so when we have a chance to look at these applications, we're not looking for the longest possible essay. We're looking for the parameters to see the content of ideas. Our hope is that we find a cadre of young professionals who has an interest in addressing today's problems, thinking of partnerships, and finding new solutions. And I would encourage all those applying to think in those themes. That you look at these the context of these essay questions is not merely to see if you can write. The communication skills obviously are an important element of any professional success. And so that's something as a view into possible successes. But it's also the content of ideas. What type of analysis can you bring to the table? Are you thinking in terms of not only criticizing problems, but also suggesting steps towards having better solutions in the future? It would be interesting to hear whether our panel saw some of the choices they made as instrumental in their being selected. But I think that like most applications, you're looking more for content rather than length. Thanks, Jan.
So, yeah, sure. I will go to the fellows, but before I do that, just a quick follow-on. Where is the emphasis of the selection panel? So you talked about three different tracks: the entrepreneurship, the civil society or civil engagement, and the public money tracks. Where is the emphasis? Is it entrepreneurship, or is it fairly distributed in terms of like selecting the fellows?
Sure. I think that the content of this fellowship is really based on the philosophy or the strength of a society. And so you need people who are dedicated to public service to serve in government sector, because those are people who will be making decisions on public policy and implementing public monies. But you also need a strong business sector who's both forward-thinking, planning for the future, not for today's profit exclusively, but to make the society a better place in a responsible way, because profit is made better when society is better. And thirdly, those who are dedicated to serving the public interest from outside those normal sectors by doing what is best for the people. And in some cases, that might be through working through non-government organizations or in the civil society. Sometimes that means education. Sometimes that means thinking about curriculum development. Sometimes it means reaching out. The other thing we think about is diversity. So we don't have a specific, one of the sectors is not my favorite, even though I've chosen to work in one of them myself. We all know that everybody has to work together, that a stool cannot sit on two legs unless you have excellent balance. And so it's better for the country, it's better for the society, it's better for all of us if we work together in those three pieces. And it's not a perfect model, but I think it's one that's been very useful to think about as a construct. So we don't shy away from one and value to the other. We don't think that the government's going to recast the entire world alone, because that's impossible. And we don't think that the civil society can tell everybody else what to do alone, because they don't have the foresight. We don't think that the business community can stand without the regulatory elements that support that and policies that are useful. So I think one of the benefits of this experience is that no matter who you come from, you'll have a chance to interface with people from the other sectors. That makes you smarter, better, and the network is going to be something I think you'll probably carry for the rest of your professional and adult life.
Thank you. So back to you, the fellows. Maybe I'll start with JayJay. What was key in your application with respect to like answering the essays? Did you think you wrote quality, or you thought that you really needed to fill the pages to be able to get selected? What informed your application?
Quality, but there was a correlation between the quantity and the quality, because I needed to be sure that I had communicated very well what I wanted to communicate in the best possible light. Yeah, so I did not necessarily sacrifice length unless I was very, very sure that within the framework of how much space I had to work with within, I had fulfilled the tenet or what was demanded of by the question. The other thing also was the opportunity to seriously think about what I was talking about, because some of the questions were related. And so I thought that that was a way of ensuring consistency, so that the answer you were giving in question 1 would not so far detract from the answers you were giving in question 2, and learning how to link them up. And then the third benefit I had from the application process was that I actually had the opportunity to think about what it was I was saying, and think about the model I was presenting, how true and original it was, and how to cut it up in the best possible light that could both tell what I was doing and what I was hoping to gain from participating in the entire fellowship. And as I said earlier, it was a great exercise.
Thanks. So, Laud, how did you arrive at which track to apply for? What informed your decision to apply for a particular track?
Hi. So this is a very tricky question, because I'm a public health physician, and naturally, you'd want. I was expecting, like, you'd expect to go to a public health section, But based on what I'd wanted to do and some prior achievements of mine, I actually wanted to, apply for the business and entrepreneurship section. But I looked at the what I had done, and I looked at number of. I sort of more tried to game the system. I felt like what I'd done in my career, I was best suited for the public management section. So I actually applied for that. I think some people, from the feedback we got from the interviews, you'd be asked based on your package. They felt that no, someone in an NGO would want to do something in business and entrepreneurship. I think, as JayJay said, you should be true to yourself, be true to what you have done, because you are going to write what you have done in the past. And if what you have done in the past and your career progression does not match with the track you select, it shows that perhaps you don't have a very fluid understanding of what you're doing. So be careful. Don't just say, oh, business entrepreneurship is the next thing I'm doing there. We want diversity, and the experience you get would help whichever area you end up in later in life. So just be careful and be true to yourself and choose a track that best suits what you're currently doing. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. How about you, Araba? What was your experience like? How did you end up in your track? And in terms of applying, what did it mean? The quantity or the quality of your answer?
Well, what I experienced was that the application required a lot of soul searching. You have to really know who you are, know what you stand for, and know where you want to get to. Because that's if you look at the progression of the questions, you have to really know yourself what you want to achieve. I work with a non-profit in Bomafete, which is where I'm calling from right now, and I switched from studying computer science to becoming the chief operating officer of this organization, and I realized at that point that that's where my passion was. So for me, the natural, choice was the civic leadership track, given what it looked like it was going to offer and what I wanted to do as far as my career and building the organization that I work for. So, as all the others have said, being true to yourself is key. And then, there's a word limit, so stay within the word limit. But if you know yourself well enough, you can go straight to the point and keep it clean.
Okay, thank you. So, we have some questions from online. Our Facebook fellows or contacts, Awal Ishaku Kanewu has a question. Do we have specific quota for each region in terms of number of applicants to be selected? And then I'll also take one more from our Twitter feed. We have a question from Ubelek. Well, Arnold, at Arnold. That's his Twitter handle. And the person says, does the time spent on the application, does it make you disqualified? I guess trying to find out to get disqualified. Well, let me emphasize at this point that the civil society track is not only for NGOs, but all voices in civil society. So you don't necessarily have to be like in NGO to qualify for that track, but if you are doing something that targets civil society, that also qualifies you to apply for that track as well. Let's see if we can do justice to these questions. So I'll start with the fellows. JayJay, you want to start? Do you think the time spent on an application can qualify you?
If you spend a lengthier amount of time on your application, there could be several factors. One of them being if you are working, then it means you could only be working on your application in your free time. So I don't really think that that's so much of a matter. If you spend little time and in that short time you feel that you give it your best shot, then by all means, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I think that what really matters is how much thought goes into the applications and how little plagiarism is in the application. It has to be original, and I cannot emphasize this fact enough because unfortunately plagiarism tests are not organized for our various theses and courses in our universities as I found in the United States. So you probably get away with it here. But out there in the context of YALI, it's a serious affair. So whatever time you spend, so long as that time is spent profitably ensuring that your essay is up to the top-notch excellence it can be, then why not spend a week or two if you have to.
Okay. Araba, what's your take? Do you think time matters?
Time, well, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. It depends on the person who's writing the application. I mean, you know how you address, say, an assignment when you're in school, right? If you have 2 weeks and you know that you're the kind of person who takes a week thinking about it, you know, planning in your head and writing it down, that's fine. If you're the kind of person who needs to put things on paper and come back to it every now and then, but knowing that there's a deadline, you have to work within the time frame that you have. So to me, it's really neither here nor there. It depends on the person who's writing the application.
Thank you, Araba. So we have a question from Jonas Obing on Facebook. He says, please, any contact number or where can I get the forms, please? Well, you can find the forms online at youngafricanleaders.state.gov, in youngafricanleaders.state.gov. And we also have Gilbert. What qualifies into Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders program? If any specifics are available, like minimum education requirements. Well, minimum education, you should be able to read and write and express yourself adequately in English. There is a reason that we haven't pegged any degree or certificates, because this is an opportunity for everyone, for every young African who has demonstrable leadership qualities to apply. And so, yes, you need to have some fair level of education to be able to appreciate the English language, interact and understand, because your instruction and everything is going to be English, so you need that. Let's go back to the fellows. Maybe I'll start with you, Laud. How did you ensure that you stood out, or how did you tailor your application so that you could catch the eye of the selection panel?
So thank you. Let me just quickly make a comment on the previous question. I'll just say I met a fellow during the program who had not been to university, was a high school, graduate, but had done so much in the business world, and he was selected. So even though education is key, it comes back to what have you done, what have you shown, what have you contributed to society. So I mean, that's with that. Then how do you stand out? So for me, I think you don't think about YALI, today. You think about YALI, as early as possible. You think about YALI when you're 10 years. You think about YALI when you're 15, 20. You start thinking about what you want to contribute to society, because opportunities like this are there, and they will come and they will present, platforms for you to demonstrate yourself. So if maybe at 25, at 30, you fail to, go after your dream, when opportunities like this come, you don't have any story to tell. So whoever is out there, get out of your seat. If there's any ideas, if there's any dream you want to achieve, start doing it, so that when these opportunities come, you have something to say. Now, how do you stand out? So I went and looked for some of the things I've done. I tried to look for the ones that really stood out, really made an impact, and one that could be verified. Because sometimes you've done something, but maybe the evidence is difficult to show. So I actually picked those ones that could be verified, maybe from maybe a competition, it was published online, there was a certificate, there was an award, things like that, so that when I add them or I include them in my essay, I could show that this and this is what I did, and these were the results. Then communication is very important. I come from a medical background, and your story or your essay is going to be read by different people from different backgrounds. So you don't go and write something that's very heavy on medical vocabulary, and they may not understand what you've done. You break it down and make it simple. If you're from a business, make sure that you are communicating your story well in simple, clear terms, so that the readers or the assessors will understand you. Because some people had a very good story, but maybe the assessors would say, "Oh, I really don't get this. I really don't." I mean, there are so many applications. So take your time and communicate effectively. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll zoom into the exchange bit, and I want to start with Danny. So Danny, what are the benefits of an international exchange or international exchange? What do successful applicants gain from being a Washington Fellow?
Thanks, Yao. I wanted to go back to the first question that came in online. I think it may have been from the Facebook page about whether there's priorities given to different regions on the application, just to address that quickly, and the answer is no. There's no quota for specific regions for the country. However, we are interested, I think, in having a slate of candidates that come from Ghana, which is as diverse as possible. And so we would encourage people, especially those that don't have direct contact or don't have their base of operations in the big cities and the big metropolitan areas or the capital, should not feel as though they shouldn't step up and talk about their experiences, especially if they've had anything that they can share that's substantive for their community. So the answer to that, because the short answer is no to that, but we're certainly interested in encouraging everybody to apply. The benefits of a professional exchange program, I think there's 2 or 3 significant benefits. The first one is the professional development opportunity. When you go and you meet people from the United States and elsewhere who are working in your area of interest, it opens your eyes to new ideas, new programs, in some cases things that you can morph or replicate with your projects that you're doing currently in your own professional environment. Number 2, you're networking with colleagues both from Ghana, from the region, from elsewhere, and that becomes a cadre of individuals and support that you can rely upon and call upon to share ideas and network for, think of things in the future, come up with new initiatives, perhaps do something new in a professional context for many years after your return. And third, you are giving back to an environment by making things better. So when you do an exchange program with the United States, you're making the United States better. So you're not only receiving things and bringing it back to Ghana, or in the case of YALI, the participants are not just bringing things back from Africa, but they're giving knowledge about how things work in Africa. They're providing the context of the diversity of experience, language, culture, history that exists here to their American colleagues and professors and students and other professional environments when they do their internships. It makes the United States better. I'm very jealous of making my country a better place. And I don't think of YALI as a place that only benefits the African participant. It's something that benefits the American participants. And so an exchange program is something where you both derive professional benefit, personal benefit, and I think that you're giving back to a context of making the world better. And I don't think there's anything more important that you could do with that length of time.
Definitely. And so now I will turn over to the fellows. And what I want to know is your exchange experience. I mean, what was it like? You've gone through the application, you've been selected, you've been notified, and now you're going on the exchange. What was it like for you during the exchange? Araba, do you want to start?
Yeah, that is absolutely right about the kind of cultural exchanges, business exchanges, and personal exchanges that happen. So I spent my first 6 weeks.
Okay, so I think there's a technical challenge. Laud, what was the exchange experience like for you?
For me, it was amazing. It was really amazing. So I thought that meeting President Obama was like huge and big, you know. But in addition to meeting President Obama, meeting all the 500 young Africans, getting to know what other people about your age, younger or older or peers, were doing was encouraging, was inspiring, and also getting to give back to the American community, because during the exchange you work, you interact with Americans, and you get to dispel some myths. You get to know some things about them. They also get to know things about you. It was really great. There's a lot of, it's a very intensive academic and professional experience. It is no joke. There are assignments, there are group works. It's not like every day you are going out. It's built in a fun environment, but like it's very serious. And at the end of the day, you come out really tested. Really, you gain some skills and networks that you can use later. So that's it. It was really good.
Okay, thanks, Lord. You started. Do you want to finish up and then we can JayJay?
Yes, I'm not sure where you lost me, but I was just saying that there were different, as Daniel was saying, the experience covers of different things, and I participated in other young Africans who were dealing with similar issues that I was dealing with, in my country, and the opportunity to discuss ideas that could be applied across the continent, and getting to look at how the U.S. deals with to our situation in Ghana.
Okay, thanks a lot. So JayJay, quickly. I have all of.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Brilliant. I'm glad I have all of you back in one piece. So,
Yes.
so JayJay, it was your turn.
Okay. First, I must commend the State Department and IREX and all the implementing partners in the entire program for how they were able. I mean, it must have been a daunting task to match every one of us fellows with the professional organizations where we could do the internship that could benefit us, and that, of course, could also benefit them. And I think that everybody within the YALI network agrees that I probably have the best match of all. I was sent out to the National Outdoor Leadership School. In the 2 months that I was there, I spent exactly 1 month going out and exploring the North American, all the mountains in the North American area. So it was an awesome opportunity. It was brilliant. I learned so much in 2 months that I could apply here, and I have already started the application process of all that I learned. And sometimes there was always the fear that I could have information overload, because the United States, in my case, has had a great outdoor sector for as old as the United States itself is. And so going there was a complete shock for me, because there are some equipment used in climbing that I hadn't even heard of. You understand? And it was really an awesome experience. And then, of course, I went hiking up mountains in excess of 13,000 feet. The Afajato in Ghana is only about 2,900 feet. So that's like from 46 latitudes away. That was the best time of my life.
That's a great experience right there. Now we'll zoom into the post-exchange experience, but before we do, Danny, so one question that we keep encountering is, why is the US doing this? Why is America interested in getting young African leaders, to study intensively in leadership? What is it?
So I think that there's two levels of interest that the United States has brought us. One of them is we have a general interest in having a general American government interest in having long-term stability, democratic institutions, and a strong civil society that informs cooperative and representative governments around the world. And so it's not only in Africa that we have an interest in youth becoming better and smarter and informing us, but it's all over the world. And our particular interest in this case as well is, I think, that we see that in the context of African political and societal development, that we have a lot to learn. We have a lot to learn about how to access the diversity of voices. I tell my colleagues in the United States, Africa is so big that you can fit the United States and Canada and China and Europe within the landmass and still have space left over. The diversity of language, of voice, of cultural history is something that makes us a better country. And so the more access we have to young, dynamic voices from across the continent, the better that we are. So we have political interests in order to long-term have an interest in the development and the stability and the growth of the diversification of the economy of Africa. But we also have a cultural interest, I think, which is also very in our own self-interest, is to get to know the diversity of the African experience in a way that will inform our decisions and make our people better and smarter. And so those are the big. There's a lot of subgroups under that, but I'll start with that.
Okay, thanks a lot. So now I'll come to you, the fellows, and we are going to talk about post-exchange engagement. I don't know if any of you applied for any of the grants that are available for doing projects. Did any of you do that? And would you want to share your thoughts about how it's been so far for you since you came back? Like, what has the experience been like?
Well, back in the United States, I applied for the United States African Development Fund grant. It was for business entrepreneurs, and I got a $25,000 grant, and I have started working with it post YALI. So what I'm doing now is I'm teaming up with the Ghana Tourism Authority to launch what is known as commercial rappelling. Commercial rappelling is an adventure sport that basically enables us to come down high-rise buildings, all the high-rise buildings that are coming up in Accra. Very soon we are going to be able to come up off them from the roof, you know, as a way to push ourselves over the edge and find the greatness that is within us. And when we do this, we would be the first country from West to Central Africa to commercialize the sport. Now, South Africa is getting revenue in trillions of dollars from rappelling. And Ghana, if we claim to be the gateway for Africa and we are not doing this, it's, putting it frankly, is quite laughable. So when we do this, we launch something that has never been done before indigenously. And what that also does is that it will generate revenue streams, provide economic opportunity for myself and for all the team I'm going to be working with, and then also, especially in rural expedition locations, provide incentives for local communities to conserve the environment so they can make more out of the natural environment. And so this grant has been very, very good, and I'm in the process of having the first tranche ship sent over into our bank account so that we can begin. And of course, the launch date is the 26th of December, so Ghanaians will know about it a day after Christmas on what they can do when they push their minds to it. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think that's a very good opportunity, and I'm glad that you got that fund. But for the rest of you, Laud and Araba, what has your post-exchange engagement been like? How have you reintegrated, and what are you benefiting from the programs that are aligned to kind of engage you? Start with ladies, of course, Araba.
Okay, so coming back, and even before coming back, I've been able to expand my network really widely. So I have a network of people in Africa, a network of people in the US, and then also a network of people in Ghana. And we are working on different partnerships that will benefit each of the organizations that we work with. For example, Ifwa Pepe, who is one of the Ghanaian fellows, and I are working on a project to bring to discuss environmental issues, because she works in the environment, but I work with children, and bring awareness of environmental issues to the children, involving the kids at Gomafete with children from a school in Takrady. So that's one of the activities. Besides that, I also have a connection with Wagner College where I did my internship, and this is what you find. Sorry, where I had my 6-week civic leadership training. And what you will find is that most of the colleges, after you leave, are still invested in your progress. So we are now what it's called Wagner International Associates, and based on that, we plan periodic conferences to address different issues that affect each of the 25 members who are in the cohorts to help develop each of our organizations. So, well, thirdly, then there's the experience that comes from what the U.S. Embassy here has to offer for all, YALI fellows. So it's very exciting, and I expect that as other fellows join, we get to expand this network and build the continent together.
Thanks. So, Laud.
I mean, a lot has been said. So, I benefited from what I would call the triple threat package. I was able to be part of the 7 weeks internship. I was highly favored to be part of the 2 months internship. And 1 week after I landed in Ghana, I was able to participate in the Microsoft internship, which is also an extension of the whole YALI process. So I'm having in total about 6 months of great professional development, courtesy of the fellowship. In addition to that, coming from a public health environment, it's not just only the grant, but the people resource. It's also something that you could tap into. The fellows launched an Ebola awareness campaign, on the eve of the summit, and we distributed Ebola, educational info in local languages translated by YALI fellows, in Swahili, in Hausa, in French, in sign language, and we distributed it. So you have this amazing network of people. You can just call and tap into them and say, hey, I'm doing this. Can you help me? Can you bring this resource? Someone would know somebody who knows somebody. And so, I mean, apart from just, physical cash, there's so much that this resource brings, so that if you're creative and innovative, you can, tap into this, for any initiative that you want to do.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. So before we wrap up this discussion, let me mention also that as part of post-exchange engagement, there is also the Regional Leadership Center, which is the USAID bit of it, that is meant for those who couldn't go on the fellowship in the US, but who also have the potential, to be great leaders. The Regional Leadership Center is part of the post-exchange engagement where fellows will get to interact with members of the Young African Leaders Network, as in other young African leaders who are capable of also being fellows, and learn more from it. It provides a lot of resources for young people to tap into. So that's also one of the many ways that we're engaging the fellows as well. So, Danny, your final words, concluding words on this YALI program.
Yeah, I think I'll talk a small picture and then big picture. The small picture is the following. We talked about the mechanics of the application. Just to review, the application process will close on the 5th of November, which is coming up. One piece of advice that many people suggest is to work on the essays and the composition of your answers on a Microsoft Word document to get everything clear and easily edited, because sometimes doing it online can be very cumbersome and frustrating. To do it preparation and then to load that text in sometimes is a positive. Encourage to think of yourself as a representative of the diversity that you bring. Each of us is unique. We all have a unique story to bring. And think of this also, that although you have to tell your story, that you're part of a bigger whole. that we are not just stones on the road, but we're part of a cathedral, really. And the leadership of the future is only going to be realized when everybody chips in. And so I would encourage those that are listening at home and the viewers that have participated to think seriously about this, to be in touch if necessary if there's any questions, but to give some serious thought to this. I think it's a very worthwhile program. And quite frankly, I'm honored to have a chance to meet the grantees and the participants from last year, and I look forward to participating this year as well.
Thank you so much, Danny. So we're almost at the end of this program. Let me reiterate the application process. And so all applications will be reviewed both here and in Washington. So applicants should know that this is a very comprehensive process. Your applications will be reviewed both here, also in Washington, and then it will be followed by an interview here in Ghana. We know that people will be applying from various areas in Ghana, so we do interviews also in the northern region, in Tamale, and then we do some of the interviews here in Accra as well. So just for you to know that, and we rank applications based on quality, so it will be the more quality your application is, the better for you. And so focus more on kind of standing out, making yourself stand out in the process. The final decision will be made in consultation also with Washington. Now let me say that if you just joined us, this has been the Hangout session on the Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders. And you can follow the discussion on Twitter on the hashtag YALI2015. If you're joining us on Google+, if you have comments, you can leave them and we'll respond. You can also leave your comments or questions on our Facebook page, facebook.com/US Embassy Ghana. At the end of this discussion, you would have access to the video and you can watch it over and learn from the fellows. You can go to youtube.com/US Embassy Ghana. Now, let me take briefly in a minute just final words from the fellows, and then we'll wrap up. So we'll start with this time. Let's start with JayJay. We'll go to Laud and then Araba as well. JayJay, please.
I think that for me, and I know I'm speaking for the other fellows as well, that this has been one of the best times of our entrepreneurial civic leadership and public management journey. I came out of Dartmouth College with 2 professors agreeing to serve on my board, and the board of my company. And so the networking opportunities are priceless, and there's so much that you will learn that I don't know how you could have learned them otherwise. And so for me, it's been an awesome, really, really brilliant journey. And especially one thing I remember very, very well was cooking jollof rice in the United States, and because I had issues with the United States concept of food, and I thought, no, you guys need to come over Ghana and learn a few tricks. Yeah, and that was very, very gratifying, teaching people how to cook jollof rice and groundnut soup, which they call peanut butter soup. Yeah, it was all awesome. I loved it.
Okay, Laud.
Thank you all for tuning in. It was a great experience. I mean, everybody should try, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, as they always say. I'd want to borrow something Araba said the other day, that for those who like doing things on the last day, technology can fail you. Trying to turn things in on the last day, so the website may be swamped, and your application, depending on your network, the speed may not just deliver, or be submitted. So try as much as possible and give yourself a 24-hour leeway, so that you submit on the 4th of November, which is the the day before the end. I think give yourself, I mean, all those listening, you have no excuse, because the process. Give yourself that leeway to submit before, so that if things don't work out well, at least you have at least 24 hours to resend. Okay, Araba, I hope I've not stolen your wind.
So now, Araba, over to you.
No, not at all. I just want to add that look, this experience, it is going to be a life-changing one for you if you do get through. And what we've said in this 1 hour-ish that we've been talking cannot do justice to the great experiences that we had during this fellowship. So please, if you care about Ghana, if you care about Africa, in fact, if you care about the world and you have great ideas, please apply, and do not underestimate the value of any community service that you've done. Let it show on your application and go and shine.
Well, let it show on your application and go and shine. And on that note, I want to thank everyone for joining us, especially to thank Tech Camp West Africa applicants, and I recognize our viewers from Benin and from Uganda as well. Thank you so much, whoever you are and wherever you're from. I hope that this has been a good exposition on the Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders for you. If you, like I said, have questions, keep interacting with us. We are happy to answer some more questions after this period. You can follow us on Twitter at US Embassy Ghana, and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/US Embassy Ghana. Check out the video on youtube.com/US Embassy Ghana, and please feel free to join our next or our subsequent Hangouts. Hopefully you'll find something very important out of this. Once again, my name is YALI, and I've been the moderator for this session. I thank you very much and have a wonderful weekend.